A very good morning and welcome to the Quality Measurement in Health Professional Education, Revisiting the Metrics, our international conference, which I'm very pleased that kicks off today with the pre-conference workshops. Assessing the quality of health professional education interventions is a task that appears more difficult than the comparable task with clinical intervention. What to measure, how best we can measure it, and so what are important questions we are struggling and trying to find answer to it. Aim of this conference is to create an opportunity for health professionals, educators, regulatory bodies, healthcare authorities, public and private healthcare services providers to interact with experts in the fields of quality and assessment, share experiences, and how to introduce new assessment methods in their own contexts. The speakers are scholars and leaders of innovations in health professional education. The conference will be an excellent opportunity to meet, discuss, and exchange opinions and best practices in the field of assessment and program evaluation. Dr. Divya Bheda, Director of Education and Assessment at ExamSoft Worldwide, will be presenting a very important talk about the power of data, which make it meaningful and hopefully make a difference. I'm sure many of you knows ExamSoft and may be using it. And Dr. Divya, she is going to share with us her experience in how to make data meaningful and make a difference. Thank you, Dr. Divya, and thanks for ExamSoft.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's the 24th night for me. I'm based out of the Bay Area in the US in San Francisco. So it's exactly 12 hours behind. I'm exactly 12 hours behind you. I thank you for being here. I am Divya Bheda, and I have been in the assessment world and evaluation world for about 15 years. I have my master's in educational leadership, and I have a PhD in education as well, in curriculum and assessment. And I have been with ExamSoft for about, I think I would say about close to a year and a half now. Before that, I have been the institutional assessment director at an R1 university, managing accreditation and assessment for that university. This was UT Austin. And then I worked at a couple of online institutions as well. So I'm very, very committed and passionate about social justice and assessment and helping our students succeed and using data for decision making. So what I'm going to share with you today is the power of data and how to make it meaningful and help it make a difference in the work that you are doing. So thank you again for being here. Please feel free to send your questions in the Q&A and feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat as well. And as I'm talking about concepts and ideas, feel free to share your own experience and knowledge to add to the conversation. This is a one-way webinar where I don't necessarily see all of you, but feel free to interact with each other and with me in the chat and the Q&A. So having said that, I wanted to just share a few things before we get started. So the first is learning outcomes, right? So what do I want you all to get out of this session in the next 25 minutes that I have with you, right? So the first thing is I want to collectively define what data is for all of us so that we all understand what we're talking about when we're talking about data. I want you to be able to explain the various types of assessment data when we think about higher education, when we think about the health professions. What are the various types of data that you could use to inform decision making? I want you to be able to examine student performance data use. And so that's going to be the prime focus of this presentation. What can you use student assessment performance data and how could you put that to good use to make decisions. I will briefly connect it back to ExamSoft's data capabilities as well, so that for any of you who are using ExamSoft, you can see, oh, I can do all of this using ExamSoft. And then I would like to explore a few processes that you can engage in and share that with you so that you can engage in data-guided decision-making. So these are the 5 learning outcomes for the next 23 minutes that we have together. So the first thing, so before I get started in actual content, I want to make sure that I share a little bit about ExamSoft with you. I'm the Director for Education and Assessment there. As you know, we have a number of resources for higher ed folks related to quality, related to data use, related to good practices in assessment. We have blogs, we have podcasts, we have webinars that are recorded and that are all free to, to share. So my colleague will paste the link in the chat if he hasn't already. ExamSoft's mission is to deliver superior assessment solutions to increase learning performance for every student, teacher, and institution. And as you can see, the vision is about harnessing the power of data to transform learning for everyone, everywhere. And this is what drew me to ExamSoft. Data is really, really important. And if we are able to use data to make the right decisions, to inform and to use it in the right way, we have a lot of power to make good decisions for student success, right? And to have high quality, help our students succeed and have good outcomes overall for everyone. ExamSoft has a unique, I think many of you may know this, so I'm gonna really go quickly over here, but we have a unique security model. We have a number of assessment solutions, and primarily we are able to offer assessments offline, where we are able to make sure that the exams are still secure. Students don't need to have an internet connection, but they're still able to take an exam. And we have a number of assessment solutions. So we have proctoring and integrity solutions. We have data, psychometric data that we share related to student performance. And we have different kinds of assessment, from exams to assignments to essay type questions to free responses. We have rubrics, we have observations, OSCEs. So we have all of that. And then, as you can see on the map, we have clients all over the world. We have been in the business for 23 years, and I will let the slides speak for themselves. We deliver exams, and we partner with a number of folks, institutions, and specifically programs across the US, from the legal side of the house to liberal arts to health sciences, health professions. And we have a large client base, and we do everything from, like I said, we have a platform, but we also do, my main portfolio and responsibility is to offer a lot of thought leadership expertise from the higher education field, and to offer consulting services. We have an easy ExamSoft assessment solutions, and that's what easy stands for, easy portfolio, where I go out to clients, or I have Zoom workshops with them where I coach them or guide them based on what their needs are, from everything from assessment design, item writing, all the way to curriculum design and how to use data for student success. So as you can see really quickly, we offer assessment integrity solutions. We enable data-driven decision-making, we facilitate accreditation, and we advance faculty and admin efficiency through the platform. So having said that, now let's dive into the content. When we define data, right? When we think of data, what is data? So data is basically facts and statistics collected together for reference or analysis, right? Data can be numerical, it can be qualitative, it can be quantitative, it can be observation. But one thing that we have to remember is data is not objective. Whether it's qualitative or quantitative, there is some element of bias in all data. And we have to factor that in when we think about how we are collecting data, how we are using data. Are we using data in the way it was collected? Are we misusing the data? All of that. So we have to keep that in mind. But all of these facts and statistics that we gather together and analyze, that is what we refer to as data. But a lot of times, what happens is that we are data rich, but information poor. So what I mean by this is that a lot of times we collect all of this information, but we don't know how to use it, and we don't know how to make meaning out of the data. And so that becomes a very important step. When we think about data, we have to collect the information and say, okay, so when I'm collecting this information, how am I going to use it? Is this the right information? Is this the right data points, the right metrics for me to inform decision-making or to inform improvement when I think about what actions I need to undertake, what resources I need to channel, what improvements I need to make, all of that, right? So a lot of times we're collecting too much data and then not using it in the right way, or we are misusing the data, or it's just sitting there as data, not being analyzed, not being used as information that can guide our thinking and decision making. So the biggest thing that I've often found in higher ed institutions is the gap between the data collection and the data use. So what I would offer is that the importance of data is usually based on its use. We can say, yes, we have all of this data, but if we don't use it effectively, efficiently, and to guide our decision making, then the data is useless, right? And so having laid that foundation, what are some different types of data in higher education? So let's start with the, with the green box over here. So a lot of times in higher education, when we think about what data do we need to collect to, figure out improvements that we need to make, or, increase the quality of our education, we engage in what's called a needs assessment. The field of evaluation has a lot of resources around needs assessments. But needs assessments is where we say, okay, so what is needed? How much resources are needed? What improvements need to be made? What people's experiences are. So needs assessments take care of that. Usually that's in the form of focus group surveys. We ask people interviews. We look at, financial distribution, all of that. So you have needs assessment. So that's one data, one type of data. We have climate assessments. So we say, how happy are people in their work, or how happy are our students? Do they want to come to our institution? Are they feeling supported? So a lot of time climate assessment is another type of data that you can collect to figure out, is the institution serving whoever it's supposed to serve? Are the faculty happy? Are the staff happy? Are the students happy? What's going on in terms of the climate and the experience, right, of people. So again, that can be collected as survey, as focus groups, as interviews, by observation, by the resources provided, all of that. Now, program assessment, and this would be very, very relevant to you. Program assessment is often done, again, in higher education. And when we think about data related to program assessment, it could be so many things, right? We can gather metrics and data related to graduation numbers, how quickly are students graduating, how many are graduating, how many are leaving the program, how many are getting jobs, like so postgraduate outcomes, what kinds of jobs are they getting, what pay grades are they getting. You may have employer satisfaction surveys where you'll say, employers who are employing our graduates, how do they feel about the preparedness of our students? So that gives information about the quality of the program, right? And then you can also ask your students, saying, what is their experience like? You can have peer institutions come and review your program, which is what kind of accreditation is, right? So we have program assessment where peer institutions come in, or accreditors come in, and then they take stock and they say, okay, your program is good, you have very good learning outcomes, you've got a good curriculum, you've got a good syllabus from all the way. So you've got all of that information, you've laid that out. I can see that your students have a very good rigorous course that they're going through. They have good sound assessments. And so you have peers coming in, or an accrediting body coming in and measuring the success of your program. So these are the data that are often reflective, like are often considered when you think about program assessment. And then you have course assessment, right? So this comes down in the US, for example, courses are very are faculty owned, more so than in the rest of the world, I would say. I'm originally from India. So in India, you have a set syllabus, like no matter which faculty is teaching it, everyone's teaching the same thing. In the US, it's slightly different. At the course level, when we look at course assessment, at that point in time, we are looking at, do you have course learning outcomes? Are they aligned to the program learning outcomes? Do you have, what are your students saying about the course, right? So you get feedback from the students. How are students performing in the course? Are they meeting their learning objectives and their learning outcomes, right? So you have all of this to figure out, okay, are our course assessments strong? Is our course a strong course? Is it a sound course? Do we have enough scholarship and resources and readings and assignments that our students are doing? And are they succeeding in the course? Are they passing, or are students failing out, and are they not prepared, right? So you have that in terms of assessing the course performance. Then you have faculty assessment. Now, faculty assessment can be peer review, where you have other faculty or senior faculty coming in and observing and reflecting on the faculty's performance. Or you may have students give feedback saying, this course, like this faculty taught this course really well. I understood the concepts. They scaffolded the learning very, very well. So I was able to follow in terms of how I had to do X, Y, Z. They trained me very well. So you can get either peer evaluation, you can get a leader who comes and observes the faculty, or you can get students to give feedback. So you have that kind of data that you can collect to figure out whether, the quality of the faculty and how they teach, are they prepared, right? And then finally, you have student assessment. So a lot of times when we think of student assessment, and this is the focus of this presentation, like I said, when we think of student performance, we're always thinking of, did the student pass or fail our course, right? And what I would like to offer you is that when we think of student assessment, it can be formative, it can be summative. We can have check-ins with our students saying, did you understand all the concepts I've taught so far? Are you ready to move to the next section of this particular course? We can have formative, or we have summative. When we think about summative, again, we think we have to give students a grade, they pass or fail, and then, that's basically it. But what I would like to offer you is, when you look at student assessment data, that data, if you set it up foundationally the right way, if you connect it to the right things, student assessment, you have so much of rich data to be able to guide so many different things, okay? And I will say that, and then I will show you how that can be done, again, in the limited time that we have together. Okay, so you all know this, and this, in the US, these roles are very, very distinct because there are distinct offices that manage these functions. But I know in the rest of the world, many people wear the same, like many people wear different hats. So it's like the same person doing this role and this role. So in, the relevant higher ed stakeholders are students, obviously, faculty, then you have leadership. You have folks who also support students. So let's say a student is struggling. Okay, do they need tutoring services? Do they need, help with math, or do they need help with writing, or do they need help with understanding certain concepts? So you have tutoring or student support services. Then you have people who have to engage in the reporting to accreditation bodies, right? So you have IR, which is institutional research in the US, but you have people who are doing that reporting work. So you have that. Then you have the community, like students, families, like who are you serving? How are you making sure that you have a good standing in the community? You have that. And then you have training offices where it's like, we need to train our faculty in how to use Zoom, or we need to train our faculty in using this particular technology. So you have, or we need to help our faculty understand how to introduce concepts, or how to build assessments, or write an item, write a test question, right? So we have all of these different stakeholders. Now, keeping these stakeholders in mind, what I'd like to offer you is, when you tie, so this is the big idea, right? So think about your student assessment performance data. So think about your student grades, right? On any of your assessments. The pre-work that you should be doing, if you aren't already, and if you're an ExamSoft user, you know how to do this, hopefully using the categories function. And if you're not using the categories function, please reach out to your client success managers, and they will share this information with you. But basically, you look at your curriculum maps that you often have to submit to your accreditation bodies, where you say, these are all the health profession competencies that my students need to achieve. they need to be at the beginner level, at the developing level, or at the competent level, right? As they go through the program, and by the time they graduate, they need to be competent. So look at that competency map. And then you know that you're covering certain topics, right? Like human anatomy concept, you're going to cover it in a particular course. Then you're going to say, okay, now I need students to be able to give like injections safely, or, you know, you have the clinical portion of it, right? So you have all of this knowledge, skills, behaviors, attitudes, habits. You have all of these things that are laid out throughout the curriculum so that your students are well equipped to become professionals in the field. And you're making sure that you are mapping it, right? With, if you aren't using maps, I would strongly urge you, it's an Excel process, and you can always reach out to me, but you can build your map to say in which courses are students covering what information, so that then you can figure out as you're building your map, you're saying, oh my God, like I'm realizing now that I assume students will learn this concept in a previous course, but they are not learning that concept at all. We just assume that. So now we need to make sure that we explicitly teach them that, right? And so we build this map, and then you're saying, okay, so if these are the concepts, or these are the objectives in a particular course, how does that tie down to the competencies of the field? And how does that tie down to the assessment? So you're linking it all the way down to the assessment, where you're saying this particular assessment measures these competencies very, very specifically. And so when you're able to link that all the way down to student performance, like to the assessment. So let's say you have an essay question, and then you're saying, okay, so this particular essay question, or this particular PowerPoint presentation assignment, or this particular exam, multiple choice question exam, ties to these particular or this particular competency. You already know the coverage in terms of what is being asked and what is being assessed. When you have that information, what's amazing is that then when you get the data, when you get student performance data, what you can do is say, okay, so based on student performance data, if 80% of my students didn't get this question correct, right? That means I need to teach, like I need to intervene and tell the student, hey, study this part really well. Study this, you know, you didn't perform well in this topic area. And I can see that you're consistently in all your exams or in all your tests or in all your assignments, you're not getting this particular competency. It's very clear that you're not getting it. So then you can help remediate quickly so that a student doesn't fail out. You, in your first couple of exams itself in your course or in your program, you can start looking for all of these trends in terms of student performance. And rather than it just be about, oh, a student passed or a student failed, it can be about, okay, hey, student, you're not doing a good job over here, so focus on this and improve what you're doing, right? So there's opportunity for student intervention remediation. What is also great is that then you can get into faculty teaching and learning, where that same performance data can give you information saying, wait, I'm seeing that 80% of my students, or 50% or 40%, whatever threshold you set, I can see that students are not performing at that threshold. So either something is going on in the way I'm teaching this concept, because I know I taught this concept, the other day in my lecture, but all the students got this question wrong. So maybe I need to teach that differently. I need to revisit it. Or maybe the lecture format didn't work. Maybe I need to show them a video. Or maybe I need them to do the reading themselves and have a discussion so that they understand where they're getting confused and why they're getting, wrong answers. So it starts, so this student assessment performance data starts giving you information to help remediate students. It starts giving you information to figure out what's going on with your teaching and how effective it is, in terms of helping students learn. What it also does is you can look at then if consistently students, you can see again trends in student performance, assessment performance. You can see, oh, wow, like all students are not getting, a part of the human anatomy. They're not getting the muscular system, or they are not understanding ethics. Like they're not making ethical decisions when we ask them assessment questions around that, right? So then you can say, oh, I thought that it was being covered in this particular course, but it's not being covered in that course. And then you can have a conversation with your colleague and realize, oh, actually there's a gap in our curriculum And we are not teaching this as deeply as we want to. And as important as it is, we are not diving deep. So we need to emphasize it more in our curriculum. So this student assessment performance data gives you information about what you can do as faculty to improve your curriculum. You can improve the quality of your assessment. So if you know who is developing your assessments, right? Your assignments in your courses, if you start looking at that, then you'll find maybe a particular faculty, all the students are doing really well, with their questions. Another faculty, all of their questions, a student is not doing so great. And it could be a function of this particular faculty where the students are doing really well. That faculty has clear instructions. The assessment questions, the item writing is very, very precise and clear, versus another faculty is not doing such a great job and they need some support and some training and professional development around item writing so that then they can design good, clear, assessment questions. And so then you can look at that and say, oh, okay, something is going on here. Or if it's not related to faculty, you can just say, oh, this assessment question is confusing. That's why it's messing, student performance data. That's why all students are getting, having a problem. So you can look at the quality of the assessment, right? And then say, maybe our assessment question is not has to be changed. And there's a lot of research to show actually that student performance on exams are often a product of the quality of the questions, right? And so that's again something where you can look at, okay, how can we improve the quality of our assessments that is actually capturing the learning that we want students to be able to demonstrate, right? And not something else. So there is that. Then you have program accreditation and review, which is obvious. Student performance data you can show saying all of our students are getting these concepts. Some of our students are not getting these concepts. So we are going to work on X concepts and Y concepts are really good. Like we don't have to work on it. X concepts, this is what we are doing. This is how we're changing, right? Because accreditation bodies, at least in the US, they are looking for continuous improvement. They don't want you to say, you have done it all and it's all perfect and all your students are succeeding. They want to say they're all about continuous improvement, right? So we want to acknowledge where we are not so strong and how we're going to improve. So we already have a plan of action. So nobody can come and say, you need to change that and you need to do something different. You're already saying, we already know, our data already tells us that these are the areas where we can improve. And then it helps leadership decision-making, obviously, right? A lot of times leaders are working off of data that is incomplete or that is misunderstood. And then they are making decisions related to resources, related to alignment, related to changes, all of that, because that data is not giving them enough guidance. So that's something to consider. I know we have only 1 more minute and I can see 2 questions. If I don't get to you, please feel free to leave your email in the chat and I will make sure that we respond to you via email. But really quickly, the processes to adopt when you think about database decision-making or data-guided decision-making, you have to build in time to review the data. So make sure you calendar that every year. Always make time as a group, because a lot of times we get so caught up on policies and submitting documents for review and all of that, that we don't calendar time to say, let's look at our data together. Let's look at each other's performance. Let's look at all of these aspects of our data and what we want to assess. So think about that. Begin with use and work backwards. So what do we want the data to tell us? And then what data do I need? Like what decisions do I have to make? And what data will tell us what decisions have to be made? So start from there, and I'll be really quick. Collaborate, delegate, and include. So collaborate with each other. It's not an individual process. Do it with colleagues. Assign people responsibilities. Not everybody is going to be good with technology. Not everybody is going to be good with data analysis. Not everybody is going to be, having a sense of, okay, how do I interpret this, right? And try to include various different stakeholders, like try to include students as well, saying, what do you see that I'm not seeing? Or include a junior faculty and a senior faculty, include someone from outside your department. So when you have fresh eyes, they're able to give you different perspectives that will help you think and improve your quality. Make sure you communicate and share, and communicate, especially saying, what did you find in your data and how are you using your data? Because a lot of times we always complain saying, we never get data, nobody responds to our survey or nobody responds to whatever. And that's because we never share back saying, thanks to your feedback, we have made these improvements. So it's very important to communicate and share. And then access the right tools and technologies, obviously. Whatever software, ExamSoft has a lot of these capabilities that I just shared around using student assessment performance data, but use the right tools and technologies, and get trained, get that professional development, and use data in a valid way. So a lot of times what people do is they get a particular data point and then they use it for something else. They're using it for marketing, or they're using it for accreditation, or they're using it to share, saying, we are doing an awesome job, as opposed to saying, okay, no, actually our data, if we look at it and parse it out and disaggregate it, it is actually telling us that we need to improve in this group of students is not performing well. Students who are first generation students, the students who've not had college experience before, they need more support. So, and of course, there's a lot more. So it's 11:02. And, I revisiting the learning outcomes, we've covered all of this, but if you can take, I'm supposed to end at 11, so I can see some questions.
It's okay, Dr. Divya. It was really great talk, and personally, I learned a lot from this. And I think we have a couple of questions. And personally, I have one question for you. Sometimes when we are generating some report, for example, for assessment of the class test, midterm, and final exams, can we club all these assessment report in only one report to get a big picture?
It depends again on use. So I would say you can always combine data, right? You can always say overall students, this is how they perform. But what is the point of combining that? What will it give you? So that's why I say start with use. So if you want to look at overall, how are our students performing on competencies? So let's say the competency is about human body, right? Like human body, human anatomy. Yes. You have an essay question, you have a test, you have an exam, but you have linked it to the human body because it's all tied to that. Then you can combine all of that data, because all of that data is going to tell you over time that students are actually improving in their knowledge and understanding of the human body, right? But if that's not the purpose, so it all goes back to purpose. So it depends is the answer.
No, this is the real purpose, and this is what we want to assess competencies longitudinally along our program. But it's really great.
And that's the beauty of it, right? You can start from beginner level to intermediate to competent, and you can track that data. And that will inform your program to say, wait, students are not where we want them to be at the end of the program. So let's figure out where in the program we need to, beef up the curriculum, where we need to strengthen our curriculum. So
I agree with you completely. Thank you very much. Another question, just maybe we'll take 1 or 2 minutes, came from one of the attendees asking about the possibility of programmatic assessment and portfolio. Do we have the ability to do this using the ExamSoft?
I at this point, my understanding that it's not. I think I have a colleague online, but portfolio is basically, when you think about it, it's basically looking at all your different assessments and then building what is the most relevant one and creating your own portfolio, right? So that the student can carry that with them. So I would offer that if you think of a portfolio as saying, okay, we have a project or we have an essay question and a student is doing this and it's being graded, so long as that initial assessment can be assessed in ExamSoft, if it's not be able to be be done on ExamSoft, you can use the rubrics, because portfolios also are usually assessed on rubrics. Like when you think about a portfolio, when you think about a capstone project or anything, you build it and then you say the rubric, you can still have that assessment, save that and help the student understand where is it that you have an area for growth. So it's a tool. So use any technology as a tool to further your needs, including ExamSoft.
Thank you very much, Dr. Divya. It was really informative talk. I know that it's short time, 30 minutes, but you really covered a lot. Thank you very much for this. Please.
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Walid, and thanks to the Chancellor for the opportunity to be here. Please reach out to me. You have my contact information. You can directly email me. And if there is any question, I'm so sorry. Again, I can see a few questions coming up, but if there's anything ExamSoft related, please feel free to contact your client success manager. They are more likely to have any answers that you need. So
we also would like to remind the audience that you can send actually your questions to our email, and then we will answer you back soon. So if you missed any question, don't worry about that. You will get the answer.
Yes. And if you don't mind, if you can just take a quick minute to take the survey, it's like literally 1 minute. It shouldn't take more than that. But
yes,
if you could take a survey,
we can take again. We can take more than 5 minutes. So please, I think in the chat box you have received the link. So please press the link and try to fill this survey. It is very important, your feedback. Thank you very much.
And congratulations to all the participants here and for such a great conference. I think y'all are doing wonderful things to help improve quality and think through what does that mean and how can we advance education and how can we advance the profession. And it's all about using data in the right way, collecting the right data. So I would say good luck to all of you. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you very much. We will just give enough time for filling that survey and then we will end the meeting.
Yes.
It was
Thank
really
you
wonderful.
all. Be well, be safe, take care.
Thank you. And it was really wonderful to listen to such very informative talk. And we are using the ExamSoft every day. We are using ExamSoft in assessing the the program learning out, the achieving of the program learning outcome, the course learning outcome. So actually we are using the ExamSoft more and more, and we learn a lot today. Thank you very much.
And so that category functionality in ExamSoft, make sure you use that, because that is the foundation to give you all the information that you need. And you can use categories any which way. You can use categories for learning outcomes. You can use categories by faculty. You can use categories by course, and you can use categories retroactively, right? So even though you finished an assessment, you can go and put categories on there to figure out, okay, I want to look at my data in this way. I want to slice and dice my data this way to figure out how students are performing or what needs to be improved. And you can do that. So good luck with all the work that you're doing. And thank you for always working for student success and student learning. Good luck.
Thank you very much. I think by this, you will be able to end the meeting. And
yes, I will do that.
I can confirm that it was really a very successful talk. And thank you very much for being with us. It was a privilege to have you in GMU today. Thank you very much.
The honor was mine. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.